Hello guys, welcome back to I guess part 2 of the MTG Foundation's Brawl Commanders review. We're doing now the Jumpstart Commanders. So we got the actual main set and now the Jumpstart one. As far as I'm aware, there's no Commander Foundation on Arena. I could be mistaken, and if I am, I will do that video later. But yeah, as always, we'll go through all the commanders. I'll give suggestions how to build them, just to kind of give you like a way, an idea. Like I mean, you're free to do whatever you want. You could be like a mono green Countess commander and you want to play it as a mono green control deck. You're more than welcome to, but it just give a general idea. First and foremost, as always, we talk about the unplayable, uninterested. You're gonna be like, oh my god, there's 12 cards here. What are you being lazy? No, there's if I'm not mistaken, over 500 unique cards in the Jumpstart set. So I think it was bound to have unplayable, at least uninteresting as the commander. They're probably good in the part of 99, so we can go through them real quick. So Cleon Mary Champions, a heroic commander, 3 mana 2/2 double strike. When you target it, you exile top card of your deck and you can play the card at 10 of 10. Card seems great in like a feather deck. As a commander, a bit underwhelming, a bit weak, doesn't really interact with other stuff in your deck, just having pumps, and I think you're better off having like something like feather. Caller, again, is just another, it's like a 4 mana Ageni Sprite Mate, because it gets counter whenever you gain life, and it attacks, all your creatures get bigger, equals the number of counters on it. Well, they get a little attack boost. It's a nice ability, part of the 99, and the same thing can be said for all of these cards. I don't think there's any exception. Like, obviously, you could play them as a commander. You're welcome to, but I definitely am more of an idea of these being part of the 99, or some of these not even, like Fumulus. Sacrifice a known token. Yeah, that's interesting. Whenever an insect, leech, slug, or worm, like that's such a specific creature types, that's like, okay, this guy will probably not be played for a while unless we get some good insect, leech, slugs, or worms that are mono black as well. Like, it can't even be in another color, it has to be mono black. So yeah, these guys, I personally don't see them working too well as commanders, or not at all, but I could see them being part of the 99. So yeah, let's get started. Still a lot of commanders to go through. We do this by color and mana cost, not by any other means. So if the first one doesn't mean it's the best one, if the last one doesn't mean it's the worst one. So the first one is Begone, Soldier of Militis. Is a heroic commander which I started playing Magic in Born of the Gods, and heroic was my go-to mechanic. Won my first FNM with blue-white heroic, so there's a special place in my heart. So 2 mana 2/2 with vigilance. Whenever you cast a spell that targets it, it gets a counter, and you can tap it, remove a counter, and draw a card. So what are we doing here? Well, we're playing heroic. So we're playing small creatures that get pumps from being boosted. So like Favor Hoplite has heroic itself, Virtuoso, even prowess creatures, they also be good. What else are we doing? We're casting cheap spells, but we also have a few spells that untap, so that works really well with Brigone, because you're going to put a counter. Well, he has a counter and you remove it, then you cast the spell, he puts a counter, then it untaps and you can tap it to remove it again. So Light the Way, Resolve, we have the likes of God's Willing, just a good protection spell, Divine Strike, just any kind of bump. We also have other ways to get counters on it. It doesn't have to only be, what should I call it? Spells and triggering heroics, like Aspirant, just every combat you give it a counter. The Invasion, if you get it to flip, which shouldn't be too difficult because it's a good way to interact with opponent's hand. You could probably, like, if you play Brigone on turn 2 and you go turn 3 Invasion, get something out of the hand, and then you bump Brigone, or maybe you jump it, give it flying, and then you can flip it, and then you're gonna get counters on it every turn. You can remove them to draw cards. And then obviously we can run a enchantment package, because that also triggers heroic, and it works quite well, like Shelter by Ghosts, All That Glitters, Ethereal Armor. The first that come to mind, there's probably more, but none of them come to mind right now. There's the Cartouche of Solidarity, for example. So yeah, this generally is, it's a very low to the ground deck. Like, you're probably curving out at 3, maybe running 1 or 2 4-drops if you really want. You can probably run a lower mana land count as well. So yeah, I'm very excited by this one, and I'll definitely build it because I love heroic. Next we have Brimas, which I was surprised to find out was actually not on Arena, because this is a card from Journeying to Nyx, I think, or is it? No, it's from Theros. It's from Theros. Never mind. Don't mind me. But yeah, we're kind of again going into cats, because when it attacks, it creates a 1/1 white cat token. When it blocks as well. So we're doing cats. We're doing tokens, and we can even do like a death and taxes kind of style. Not really, but kind of. So we have Arabo, we have King of the Pride, like cat commanders, cat lords rather. Since we're going to be making multiple creatures a turn, because Brimaz makes a creature, you have a way to duplicate the amount of creatures who are being made from or tokens being created, or if we're just playing one from our hand as well as attacking with Brimaz. So Endure Innocence, you're going to draw us cards, Rumor Gatherer as well. We're running the token idea, Caretaker's Talent, Intangible Virtue, Dollmaker Shop is obviously very good, and then like a way to make sure Brimaz, because Brimaz needs to attack, and a 3/4 for 3 mana can get outclassed rather fast, so we run like this Death and Taxes package, if you will, with a bunch of equipments. Obviously you can run all the tax kind of stuff, like the Espaceno, God, I can't remember, the Palovito Dama de Rosa, a world champion card as well, which I can't remember the name of, but you know, those kind of taxation. But then also run swords to give it protection and make sure you can keep attacking with it. And if it goes through, you get a huge trigger. But yeah, that's Brimaz. You can run a cat theme. You don't have to run the cat theme, but I think it's a nice one. A token theme, or you can just run like a Death and Taxes or White Winnie kind of deck. So I think it has a lot of versatility. It's just a good all-rounded creature, so I'm happy with Brimaz. Next we have Pessimilla, Militian Poet. This one I consider to put it in uninteresting, but I think the ability is interesting enough. So it's a 3 mana 1/1, which is kind of like but whenever you cast your first enchantment each turn, you create a token, a 2/2 Nymph token. And at the beginning of each combat, if you draw 5 or more enchantments, it becomes a 5/5 of lifelink. So you can really turn the race on its head very quickly. Sorry. For as far as the deck is concerned, you can see I highlighted a couple of flash enchantments, because it's whenever you cast your first enchantment each turn. So you cast a sorcery speed one on your turn, and then you cast one of these flash ones during your opponent's turn, so you're getting more than 1 token a turn. If there's any card that gives flash, I don't think there's any card that gives flash to stuff that I can think of in white. Sigarda's Aid might work. I don't know if you can do, I can't remember now if they can do auras as well. I know you can do equipment, but yeah, like ways to cast spells, enchantments during your opponent's turn, so you get the most value out of I'm not call it Pessimilla, the Poet, most value out of the Poet. Other than that, similar effects of the Archon and the Dancer, similar effect as the Poet, making a bunch of extra tokens. And then yeah, you're just running a normal Enchantress kind of deck. You can run a bunch of auras as well, especially like Poet wants to have 5 or more enchantments in play, so like if you're Arm and all the glitters work really well, because they also want to have a bunch of enchantments in play, so it can be a really way to just hit your opponent for about a 1.5 trillion damage, which should be lethal. But yeah, it's a white Enchantress deck. There are other white Enchantress decks, but I think it's interesting enough that it's worth running once in a while. You know, it's kind of a deck that you'll be like, well, let me give this deck a little run. So yeah, I think we have one more white commander. Yeah, well, one more. Furid, Mayor of Destiny. 4 mana 2/4 flying life link. Other Pegasi, unicorns, and horses you control get +1/+1. And whenever you cast a Pegasus, unicorn, or horse creature spell, copy it. So I mean, there's no secret about what you're doing with this deck. You're building a Pegasus, unicorn, horse tribal deck. Like that's what this commander is asking for. It's asking for nothing else. Issue, I put. Disregard the first two, disregard the throne and the deepest foundation. Those 6, in my opinion, are the best unicorn, horse, and Pegasus on Arena right now that are that creature type in your hand. Like Golem can be it, but when you cast it, it's not, so you wouldn't trigger the Furid. So even though Fury has a really powerful effect, and it's worth noticing, like copy it, so any effect that copy, well, create token is a token, copy is a token. Any effect that makes more than 1 token, like the Deepest Foundation would make 2 copies, for example, 3 in the case of the Foundation. Throne as well would trigger the copy twice, so that's very powerful. But there just isn't that many powerful base horse, Pegasus, or unicorns. Bunnycorn is great, Sunmare is great, Harbinger is a really interesting card, and then from there we just kind of Winged Mare is kind of like, okay. Splendor Mare is like, what the hell? And then you go to Shepherd, it's a bit better, but you know, like I think the issue is just it isn't as supported as I would like, which means you'll probably be in the fun queue. But I think this is the kind of card you're just gonna keep it there, and then every set a new, like maybe a random unicorn comes out or a random horse, and it's like, okay, cool, upgrade until eventually it becomes a powerful deck. It's a little issue with a few of the tribal decks that come in the set. Is I search on I use EDH Rack for like my research. Like I use both Scryfall, even Arena itself, and EDH Rack to get ideas and search for like specific examples. There's better, like obviously there's more cards available for commanders, so there's like could actually build a horse deck. Can't really build one here, but yeah, it's still fun. I think it's still interesting enough. We're going to blue and now with Cynete, Jelly Drover, the Jelly Girl. 2/2 for 4. Whenever it enters or dies, you create a 1/1 blue jellyfish creature token with flying. And creature flying, you control get +1/+1. It has a built-in favorable wins, as you can see down there. You're playing a mono blue flying tempo deck. I don't think there's much secret. I don't think there's much else you can really do with this. Since he cares about entering, dying is not something you can really abuse in mono blue. So yeah, we're doing flyers, and I guess since we're doing mono blue flyers, you kind of want to be tempo as well. Spirit Noble, new card, can gives your flyers a boost, both defensively and offensively. Oracle of the Alpha, Vendilion, Click are just very good flyers with a little bit of tempo in the Click sense. The Scry in the Oracle is also nice. And since you're probably gonna get a lot of little flyers through, just having like your curiosities, your missions, just to get a lot of card advantage, and then you just round off your deck with counter spells and bounce spells, Cyclonic Rift being your superstar and probably one of the best blue cards there is. Just like it's such a blowout. The amount of times I've considered Cyclonic Rift and I haven't had opponent consider Cyclonic Rift is substantial, to say the least. But yeah, this is a very straightforward deck. All you do, you go to Arena, you select creature, and you write flying in the search box, and yeah, and you choose the best ones you have. And that's the deck. There's no secret. So up next we have, why are the names weird? I am foreign. I struggle with names. Okay. The Devious Diver, 3 minutes to 2. Whenever it becomes tapped, target player mills cards equals to its power. Whenever it casts a spell from your graveyard or activate an ability of a card in your graveyard, you draw a card and put a counter on the diver. And then every time you put a counter on it, the next time it taps, you're gonna build more cards. I think the idea here that I would personally want to do, you can obviously play as just a mill commander, but I think you have better mill commanders. I wanna build like a Jace or Oracle, Thassa's Oracle win con kind of deck. We're milling ourselves, we're getting value from doing stuff from our graveyard, and the Jace or the Thassa wins. We have Drown Secrets to make sure, like, the thing is, you can just mill yourself until you get enough value, and then you can just start milling your opponent as well. That's a good way to do that. Liar works really well, giving everything in our graveyard flashback. That will trigger the near div. Deep Analysis or any card with flashback is good. Card with Unearth, Eternalize. What are the other words? Eternalize. What is it? Jumpstart. There's another one that's Embalm as well. There's probably other graveyard abilities I can't think of right now. Dredge. I don't know if there's any Dredge on Arena, but anyways, there's a bunch of ways to get stuff from your graveyard, and then the only other thing we want to kind of abuse is tapping and untapping the diver. So the legends, even though it's the turn you came into play, you can tap it already just to start filling your graveyard. The research, you can untap it, and then you can tap it again with like the legend, and in that way you get a bit more value. You keep drawing cards, keep milling yourself until you can win with a Jace. That's kind of what I want to do with this deck, not gonna lie. Next we have Po Jamar, the Illusionist. 6 mana for 5 flying. When it enters, you choose a creature type, you draw a card for each creature you control of that type. I think this is a really interesting commander for unsupported tribes. The one I chose to do here was for Illusion, but like if you have any other tribe that you kind of want to do and you feel like, oh, there's not really a commander, and it's in mono blue obviously, this guy can play a role. I think it can also fit as a part of the 99 in other tribes, like if you have a Sultai Elves deck, for example, a blue-green Elves deck. That fits well. In Merfolk, it would fit quite well. Maybe Wizards, since it's a wizard itself, it would fit in 99. So it has a lot of value. I was actually surprised by the illusions available in Arena. I didn't know Lord of the Unreal. I mean, it's a new card. It's on Arena now. I mean, it's a new card to Arena, that is. But Lurk in the Deep, didn't know it was an illusion. I didn't know the tokens from the Mesmerizing Benthid were illusion as well. The Jace makes illusions. Phantasmal Image is an illusion. Memory Mystic, make bird illusion. So yeah, that's kind of the idea. We're going just playing a bunch of illusions. Sorry, I thought it was illusionist for a second. Illusions, and then the illusionist will get value out of it, and then obviously you're gonna run your counter spell, your bounce spells, your mono blue. You kind of have to run that, otherwise you're just gonna lose the opponent. But I think another little package we can have is just blink effects. As you play it, you draw maybe like, I don't know, let's say I choose illusionist and I draw 3 cards. I have a 1 mana up, cool, I essence flux it, and I draw another 3 cards. You know, it's just kind of a little way to get more value, and then there's probably enough creatures that you wouldn't mind bouncing anyway, like the Benthid or the Lurker. You wouldn't mind blinking them anyway. So I think having this little package, this little blink flicker package, I think it's definitely worth it. Next we have Venser. Oh my god, I love Venser. I love Venser. This is why I'm very excited about it, but not as a commander. I'm gonna put it in my Nasher deck. I already put it in my Nasher deck. But yeah, 4 mana 2/2 with flash. Whenever he enters, you return the spell opponent to its owner's hand. This is a very good tempo commander. It's probably just a very good tempo card. What are we doing first and foremost? We are gonna keep bouncing it to our hand or getting double triggers. Panharmonicon, Nayban, any blink. So Essence Flux that we just saw, Ghostly Flicker, what was the other one called? Blur. So anyway that it hasn't played, we just don't allow opponent to cast spells. They cast a spell that costs 4 mana, cool, back to your hand. Oh, you're gonna cast it again next time, back to your hand. Oh, back to your hand. Are you gonna try it? Don't try it. Oh, you're gonna try it, back to your hand. So yeah, Nayhand gets the double trigger, so you bounce the spell they cost and something they have in play. Panharmonicon is getting double trigger, like you can just bounce 2 lands. Imagine you're on the play, turn 5, or maybe let's say turn 4, you play Panharmonicon. Let's pretend we got an Arcane Signet on 2, we play Panharmonicon on 3. On turn 4, opponent has 3 lands, we play the Vance, so we bounce 2 of their lands. That's game, like they're not playing the game out. You can also, Riptide Laboratory is an arena, so that's another way that you can bounce the Venser. You can even play the Venser and bounce itself, that will get value from the Port Mage, for example. So there's a lot of ways to do it. And then the rest of the deck, obviously, again, Cyclonic Rift, counter spells. Play at this tempo style, so we have Tidebinder, we can have the Fairy Mastermind. Harbinger of the Seas just wins some games on its own because it locks opponents out. So yeah, this is a mono blue deck that I'm very interested in. It's on my to-build list. I've built 3 decks so far for not from Jumpstart, from Foundations. So I do have Venser on my build list. I'm actually gonna write it down right now because I'm gonna do it after this video. Before I forget, I have so many things to do today as well. So anyways, next we're done with blue because I think a lot of the blue ones were not that good. But Nazar the Velvet Fang, 4 mana 3/3 menace. Whenever you gain life, you put a feeding counter on it. When it attacks, you can remove 3 feeding counters. If you do, you draw 3 cards and you lose 3 life, but that's not important. Mono black life gain counter kind of stuff. So proliferate. We have staff, we have Vraska, so that helps. So you get 1 counter on it, then you just proliferate it out back to up to 3, and then you attack, you draw 3, maybe it dies, and you get it back. Obviously, I think any life gain deck now, you're going to be running the combo of Conqueror and Enduring Tenacity, or any of the other card that whenever you gain life, opponent loses life. Like that, I think that's just a must include. The one thing I would want of Nazar is ways to, like, no need to attack with a life linker, just like ways to casually gain life without much effort. So like we have the Pristine Talisman, you just tap it, gain a life, boom, you got a counter. Diamond Mare casts a black spell, boom, you got a counter. You may be able to get 3 counters on a turn just by casting spells with the Mare in play. Polluted Bonds, if your opponent's ramping, that's a multiple triggers, getting counters. Dread Presence, you play a Swamp, counter. So yeah, I think that's just the way I would build this deck. Is it a powerful deck? Don't know. Maybe if you're playing mono black life gain, you might be better off playing Veto and having Nazar in the 99. But I think it's an interesting enough idea that I thought I needed to highlight it. But yeah, it's a straightforward life gain, mono black life gain deck with a little I don't know how to say proliferate, with a little proliferating. So yeah. Next I have Rev the Tithe Extractor, 4 mana 3/3. Whenever attack, target creature gains death touch until end of turn. Whenever 1 or more creatures control deal combat damage to a player, create a treasure token and look at the top card of that player's library and exile it face down. You may cast a card for as long as it remains exiled. I tried to think of a way to make it as interesting as possible, and I finished at mono black aggro good stuff, as in every creature I play, it's a must answer creature or they get out of hand. Like Tiny Bones, if I'm killing your stuff and Thoughtseizing you and things like that, I'm just gonna steal permanents. Unstoppable Slasher, you're just gonna die. Gix, I'm gonna draw cards. Rancor, you're gonna empty your hand. Nashi, I'm gonna steal cards from your deck. Drana, my creatures are gonna get huge. So like, the idea is basically every card I play is a substantial threat that you must answer, or you're gonna I'm gonna snowball the game. And I think that's the way to do it, because Rev as well, it's gonna get value. It gives me Tasiga vibes, but I think that's mostly because she's sitting on a throne. But yeah, just removal and just mass answer creatures. I think it's a very straightforward deck. I think so, at least. That's the way I would build it. Obviously the Rev helps to push any damage in because it gives the creature death touch, so they have no choice but to block it and probably trade in the very least. So yeah, mono black aggro, I might build Rev as well, honestly. We're writing Rev down. I want to build Rev as well. I love mono black. One of my favorite cards of all time is Erebos Titan. It's a terrible card, but I love that card nevertheless. Now into red already. This is going a bit faster than I thought it would, not gonna lie. Gornog. Haste, 3 mana 2/3. Cowards can't block warriors. Whenever one or more warriors you control attack a player, target creature that player controls becomes a coward. Becomes a coward in the sense of till the end of the game, or until he leaves play rather, because it's not an alchemy card. In attacking warriors, you control get +X+O, where X the number of cowards your opponents control. I don't think I need to say much rather than warrior tribal. Warrior it was my favorite tribe when I played Yu-Gi-Oh! I was not very good at Yu-Gi-Oh! I was a child, but I just loved building warrior decks. I also built a warrior deck doing Counts of Tarkir standard. So this has a special place. I'm gonna write it down. I'm gonna build this one as well. I did not have time in the weekend to build any decks, so I have 3 decks pending to build now because I'm just excited. So yeah, we're running warriors. So Kargan has, I put these 2 because they also have the line of cowards can't block warriors. So if you made a warrior with Gornog and Gornog died, you still have other ways to get this line of text, which is very important to make sure you push damage. And then you're just kind of curving out good warriors. That's up to you. Shred Animosity and Banner of Kinship is just tribal cards that are very, very good. Animosity is one that you don't usually get to play that much because it being in red and wants you to have a lot of aggressive creatures, which is not necessarily all tribes. So that works really well. And then to round off the deck, you have your removal, your kind of reach as well without the burn, and then you just run equipments. Since your opponents can't block, your equipments are getting through and you're getting a lot of value out of them. So yeah, warrior tribal. Next, Rionia, the Fire Dancer. For 3, 4, 5 mana. Beginning of combat on your turn, create X tokens that are a copy of another type creature you control. Important, another, where X is 1 plus the number of instant source you cast this turn. They gain haste. Cool. What are we doing? Well, we want to copy stuff, we want to play cheap spells, and we want to go through our deck so we can play a bunch of cards. Prodigy and Throne, they are ways to, since the Dancer is a wizard, they are ways to make twice as many tokens. So the Riona would trigger twice, and then you make, cool, I'll make 3 copies of this creature. Oh wait, it's actually 6 copies. A lot of damage will be pushed through, and then what kind of creature do we want to copy? You can just copy any creature, it will just do a lot of damage. But Fanatic of Mogis is one of the most powerful ones, especially if you're making a lot of copies. They will count the devotion of each other, so they'll be huge. Terror of the Peaks, if you're copying 2, that's already, give me a second. The first one sees the 2, so that's 10, that's 30 damage, right? If a copy makes 2 copies of Terror of the Peaks, 2 come in. Okay, another creature, so that's 20 damage. Sorry, it's 20 damage. It's 20 damage. Still okay, it's 20 damage. Rest of the deck, you're just running all the 1 mana cheap spells, anything that says draw a card on them, Reckless Impulse, all these kind of effects that get you extra card up the stage. Talent and Embers also help you. Talent helps you go through your deck. Any card that helps you rummage and discard the extra lands and things like that. And then Embers or even Underworld Breach just gives you access to the cards you cast early in the game, so you have more gas in the tank to go off. But yeah, Riona just sounds like a really exciting deck. I'm not going to build it just yet because I already have 3 decks on the list, but I also will build this one eventually. Next, I want to say we're into green now. Hell yeah. Dionis, this one is a very interesting card that they printed. Dionis Elvish Archdruid, Elvish rather. 4 mana 3/3, elves you control have whenever this creature becomes tapped during your turn, untap it and put a count on it. This ability only triggers once each turn. Elf tribal, obviously, but we're focusing heavier on elves that can tap. If that makes sense. Like, normally you wouldn't run every elf that taps for mana, but I think with Dionis as a commander, you probably want to run 99% of them. Mostly because you add them, like I have an Elvish Archdruid, I had 3 mana, he untaps, I had another 3 mana, I already have up to 6. In Magic you can do that with multiple creatures. Archdruid and then the Dreams Druid are probably the best too, because they add green equals to the number of creatures you control. But yeah, there's a bunch of, like, even on Elvish and Miscellaneous Elves, just getting 2 mana out of them is very powerful. Where are we putting all that mana? Because we're going to make a lot of mana. Genesis Wave, new card, we're running mostly creatures in this elf deck. Very powerful. Another Devastation just wins the game. Any big creature, Creative of Behemoth, whatever of Annihilation, Ronus, there's a bunch of cards that will just bump your board. Enduring Vitality, in case you have some elves that don't have this tap ability. You can obviously just attack as well, that also works, but like we want to generate the mana and kind of abuse. Rishkal as well will give any elf that doesn't have it, and then like obviously we will have overruns and things like that, but having overrun built in creatures where we can use all the excess mana that we're getting from Dionis and our mana creatures. Tyvar, Elvish Warhammer, War Masters rather, just like good elves with built-in overrun effects. It's disgusting. So yeah, it's an elf deck with a heavy focus on making a lot of mana. A lot. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot of mana. Up next, Garruk. This one I consider putting in the uninteresting because I think it's very good in the 99 for most big ring decks. But as a commander, it's a bit underwhelming. -3, you put a creature from your hand into play. +1, you reveal the top 5 cards and you put all creatures into your hand. The emblem is obviously very, very good. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you search a library for a creature card and put it into play. That's very powerful, of course. If you have doubling season, you get to do it when it comes to play. But yeah, we'll try to get value of the -3, so we're running a bunch of big creatures. But we also want to get a lot of value from reveal the top 5 cards, put all creature cards this way into your hand. By running, like our non-land cards, I want like 90% of them to be creatures. So when we +1 this Garruk, I want to be drawing 3 to 5 cards. Probably won't draw 5 often because we still have lands. But like I want to draw like 2-3 cards minimum. I don't want to be hitting one creature or even whiffing. So we're going to run a lot of creatures. Ramp, card advantage. Gauta works really well because we're going to fill up our hand with Garruk, play the Gauta, boom, we have 15 creatures in play. And then we since we're going to be running our interaction mostly built into creatures, we want ways so we can find them. So Sylvan Tooth, Fauna Shem are going to be very powerful, just ways to find our creatures. Vivian has a similar effect, the 5 mana Vivian that can look at the top 4, find a creature. But yeah, it's going to be a mono-green deck that's mostly, and by mostly I mean 99% of the cards are going to be creatures, so we can get the most out of Garruk. But yeah, I think Garruk does line up better to be part of the 99. Another green creature, Shrufus, the Sprout Sire, 3 mana 1/1. Whenever creature control deals combat damage to play, create them any 1/1 green sapling creature tokens. The one thing you would find out if you search for sapling creatures on Scryfall, at least on Arena, there are no creatures that are sapling. There are cards that create saplings, but there's no creatures that are saplings except for the Sprout Sire. But that's okay. Tenashu Dryad makes a bunch of them. The Thalides are Lord. Migration, Swarm, there's a bunch of ones that make tokens, so that's perfect. Roaming Throne. The thing is, if you get one hit with the Sire or another sapling, it starts building up. Because then you attack with 2, oh, 1 gets through, you make another 1. Now you attack with 3, oh, it gets through, you make more, and then it just keeps getting crazier and crazier. You have doubling season, especially if you're supposed to make 4, you make 8, things like that. With Roaming Throne, you're supposed to make 4, you make 8, you make 16. Things like that. Banner, obviously, if we're going very wide, it's going to be very powerful. Tribute, we're going to be making a lot of creatures, so we're going to be making them big with the Tribute, things like that. Just ways to pump our board. Also, the bigger the Cyberlin is, the more creatures it makes, so it's good Anthem effects. And then we want to make sure we can get the first Cyberlin, like we need to get one Cyberlin through so we can start going off. So like I think I think Trailblazer Boots, the actual name of the card, is a very good way because most people will run at least one non-basic. Even if you're playing against a mono-white deck, they should be running a bunch of non-basics, like Mutavaults, at least. So yeah, we need ways to push through, but once we push through, we just start making saplings. Progressively more and more and more. Up next, still in mono green, Verdiloft the Ancient, 6 mana for 7 with Kicker X, sapling creatures and other tree folk get a bump, and when it enters you create X 1/1 green sapling tokens. We're also running the saplings here, but we also get to run the tree folks. Not that many tree folks in Arena, I was a bit disappointed. But we have Fangorn, which is a very powerful 3-folk that's going to be generating a lot of mana. 6 gets you a bit of value from your graveyard. But yeah, we're mostly going to be focusing, I guess, on the saplings. Then the Shoot Dryad Forest is going to make a bunch of saplings. It's going to be a big mana deck because we want to do this Ancient for a lot of mana. So your Cultivates, your Circle of Dream Druids, your Llanowar Elves, your... anything that searches for lands. You can even probably run Lumra in this deck and run a bunch of fetches, Escape Shift, then you Lumra, things like that. And then you kind of just want to overrun to finish the game. It's so straightforward, it's a bit boring, but some people like Tree Folk, so you know, Tree Folk it is. Up next, this one you see there's a Yu-Gi-Oh card on the bottom left, and this is a small complaint I have about a few of these cards. And this is not a complaint towards the artist by any means. This is a complaint of the direction or the instructions that was given to the artist. I look at this plug on Lord of the Beach card. I see a Yu-Gi-Oh card. That's why I put the Ojama green, because that was the first thing. I saw it, I was like, that's an Ojama or Yama. I don't know how you guys call it in English. I watch Yu-Gi-Oh in Portuguese. So it's like... It feels like it's a card game that just was made. It's gonna last for 2 years and probably gonna die, like a Force of Will kind of board card game. I'm not a fan. It's an opinion. Obviously, it's an art piece, so you don't have to like it. It's up to everyone. But I just wanted to share my opinion and see if anyone else got the same feeling from like some of these cards. You see, like Teiko has a similar, and we'll go through them later. But yeah, there's other arts that are just like, this feels very detached from, like, especially from a main set. This is not a Universes Beyond. This is not a collaboration of something else. This is the main set, and it just feels very not Magic. And it's not the creatures that's in it. It's just, I don't know how to explain it. It just doesn't, I don't know. But anyways, it's a 0/3 for 3. Enters by field, draw card for each creature control with toughness greater than its power, and you can pay 1, either blue or white, for a target creature you control to assign damage equal to its toughness rather than its power. This is kind of like the usual Assault Formation deck, but we don't get the green, so it's a bit interesting. It's a bit different, so I think just because it's a bit different, I think it's worth highlighting. High Alert gives you a second effect of the same effect of, well, I guess one that you don't have to use mana in to be able to deal with toughness. Tetsuko is going to make all your creatures unblockable because usually if you have big toughness, you have small power. Cherix, powerful effect. Especially like a 0/17, you get to hit them for 17. That's almost killing them in a turn. So, you know, and if you don't have it, oh cool, you pay 3 mana, it gets a bit bigger, and you get to attack with it normally. And then it's up to you. I guess the issue with the defenders in this case, only the High Alert lets them attack. The Plagon doesn't let them, but you still will draw cards from off of Plagon, so it's still worth it. To round it off, we have the Roughs that don't kill small creatures, the Battle of the Bywater or the Dusk to Dawn. Gossip Talent makes sure your small creatures get through, and then you get to hit them for a bunch with the toughness. And then Ephemerate works really well, like all the blink effects, momentary blink, Essence Flux that we saw earlier as well, work real with Plagon, because you blink it, you draw a bunch of cards from it. Happy days. But yeah, we're playing blue-white Assault Formation without the green. Not super powerful, but you know, interesting enough. Teiko, this is a Dimir commander. These are a bit hidden because the second color is like in the rules text. So it's a ninja with enter stab. Whenever a creature control leaves the battlefield and it didn't die, you get to scry 1 and put a counter on it. And whenever it attacks, you may pay a Dimir hybrid mana. When you do, target attacking creature can't be blocked this turn. I looked at the ninja commanders. The best one will obviously be Satoru or Kaito, but this gives you another option. So I think that's worthwhile. It has a built-in way to make creatures unblockable, which is nice. Gets a little bit of value from you ninjutsuing, so that's also nice. But yeah, what you're running in this deck, well, all the ninjas. Kaito's the new guy, makes ninjas also. Creatures being unblockable means it will get closer to ultimating because you get to put a counter on it for every time a creature you control deals damage to a player. The old Kaito makes ninja emblems, Nashi, Satoru, Umezawa, just good ninjas. The Port Mage works really well as well with the ninjutsuing, curiosity, since our creature can be unblockable, can draw a card, and then we just kind of need these dorks like the Outcast or the Ornithopter so we can ninjutsu in very, very early. But yeah, just a blue-black ninja deck. Not much else, not much secret. Next, Rodolph, not Rudolph, it's not Christmas. Dustbringer, 6 mana 4/4, flying death touch lifelink, a lot of keywords. Whenever you gain life, he gains indestructible, so he has kind of like a built-in protection kind of way, but you just have to make sure you can gain life at an instant speed in response to removal. At the beginning of your end step, you may pay 1 in a hybrid black and white. When you do, return target creature with mana value X or less from your graveyard, where X is the amount of life gain this turn. So we kind of want to focus our life gain on creatures, and especially cheap creatures, because you're not going to be able to gain 5 life every turn, but if you know 1, 2, maybe 3 life, you can, and then you can bring back a 1 or 2 or 3 drop. Elanda and Exemplar, 2 new cards that are very, very powerful and care about gaining life. Will draw your cards or making the Elanda huge. Tenacity and the Conqueror, like I said, you can't escape this combo if you're black-white, or at least black life gain. You have white even more so. Grey Merchant is a very good card to bring back if you can gain 5 life. Solace Simulacrum, it is 4 mana, but if you get to bring it back once, it's already very, very good. And then we have ways to consistently, like just kind of incidentally get life. So Warden, whenever you play a creature, whenever an opponent plays a creature, that'll give the Rudolph indestructible, so you can block. Creeping Bloodsucker makes sure every turn you're gaining at least 1 life, so like any extra life without spending mana, like it's 1 life every turn without spending mana, which is very important, so you can have the leftover mana to pay for Rudolph's ability. Rudolph, I don't care. Dustbringer. But yeah, black-white life gain, we saw 2 new ones from the main set, like Elanda and Ailey. So this is a 3rd one. Is it a good one? It's a different one. That's all I'm gonna say. Next, we have Evereth, the Viceroy Plunder. This is a Rakdos commander. 3 mana 2/2 with flying. You can sacrifice on a creature artifact to put a counter on it. If the permanent was a treasure, it gains lifelink, but you can only activate it as a sorcery, worth noting. When it dies, you can pay 1 in a hybrid mana. When you do, it deals damage equal to its power. So we kind of want to get it big, but we have to do it at sorcery speed. That's worth noting. We're going to be sacking things, so Opportunist is going to draw a card. Plunderer will create treasure, the treasure which we can sack to the Evereth and give a lifelink, so you can kind of make races more winnable. If we're sacking things, the Jury and the Mayhem there, we're going to get value. There's other cards. Judith itself also works. We need Fodder or Pyromancer, Jadar, or even just small creatures that just get death triggers. You can even run Bloodsoaked Champion, creatures that come back from the graveyard, just things you can sack and not be upset about. And if we run out of sack outlets, if we want to, like, if we don't have the mana for the Evereth rather, and we want other sack outlets, Warren, Goblin Bombardment, just make sure that can still tick even without our commander. And the other thing I kind of want to highlight is kind of these undead effects, because Evereth dies, you get the trigger, you pay 2 mana, you do a bunch of damage, and then before it died, you obviously play the undead effect, so like, oh, it died, oh, I sacrifice it. Let's start again. Let's pretend it's a 5/5. I cast Not Dead After All. I sacrifice it. I pay 2 mana. I hit my opponent for 5 damage. With Not Dead After All, it comes back as a 3/3, and then I get to do it again. So you have the leftover mana and another sack outlet. So yeah, it's a Rakdos sacrifice commander. I like it. A bit sad that Activate only as a sorcery was added into it, but it was probably necessary. But yeah, exciting. Next, another black one, but this one is Golgari. 2 mana 1/3 with Death Touch. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 1 in a green or black. If you do, you create a 1/1 black snake with Death Touch, and you can pay 5 mana so that whenever 1 or more Gorgons or snakes you control, you command damage to the player, the player loses half their life rounded up. What are we doing here? Gorgons and Snake, but not only Gorgons and Snake, because Ophelia kind of feeds itself making snakes. Bloodletter is very, very good because lose half their life. Oh wait, you lose half of their life twice, they just die. Rev is another way to make sure we're getting damage through, because not all the snakes we can have will have Death Touch. So that helps, giving them Death Touch and pushing in damage. We get the trigger. Viper is one of the better snakes on Arena. Vraska the Silence is one of the better Gorgons on Arena. Since we have a lot of incidental Death Touch, you can run the Fin, maybe try to kill them that way. Seraph gives other creatures Death Touch as well in case we do not have the Death Touch. And also gives our creatures Hexproof. I freaking love Hexproof. To round off the deck, Boots again is just another way to make sure, because we're gonna activate this ability. If I pay the 5 mana, I wanna make sure I'm getting the damage through. Like, I don't wanna activate that and then my creature get blocked or they get killed or whatever. So I need ways to make sure they don't get blocked, they can't be blocked, and they're not gonna get killed. So Blue Boots or any other, or the other boots, they give a ward as well, also works. Wound, and well, they work in the same way as the Outlaw's Arts. Whenever they're losing life, they lose double the life, so they kind of just die. So you have some infinite, well, just kind of win on the spot combos. So yeah, it's an interesting commander, not super powerful, but I think that's okay. Up next, Husk of the Sweet Tooth. It's a Selesnya commander, 3/3 for 3. When it attacks, you create a food token. Whenever you gain life, you may pay a Selesnya mana. When you do, target creature get +X/+X until the turn of X the amount of life you gain this turn. We're playing life gain, but we get the access to green, so I think the idea is to just go deeper in it. Obviously, you have Soul Ward and Sarah Ascendant, those kind of cards. You have Genic Pridemate, all the different variations of it, but we get to run green. So Silverback Elder is a card we usually don't get to run. The Great Henge, Samwise Gamgee is going to create the foods, which we can sack, the food that the Sweet Tooth makes as well, which we can sack for life, or we can bring back a lot of legendary creatures that we just incidentally have in our deck. Sweet Revenge, if you want to go deeper into food, which I'm not sure we want to, but we can. Reservoir, I think if you're playing a life gain deck, it's just a good card to have. It gains you a bunch of life and can then just win you the game. And then the Wild Leaf, I put this card here because I was so surprised to see it on Arena. I didn't even know it was going to be on Arena, and I freaking love this card. It used to be played in the Abzan, modern Abzan decks way back then, and I just kind of love it. It's just a good card, and I think you should put it in your deck. And it's just more highlighting, hey, this is an Arena, you should run it. But yeah, Green-White Life Gain. This is the last, this is the last green card. We have one more command after this. 5 mana, 5/5, Beast Commander. Beast is spell you costs 2 less, so your beasts are cheaper. Whenever beasts come in with an additional +1/+1 counter on it, and whenever Slinzer or another creature power 4 or greater comes into play, you can pay 2 mana and have Slinzer fight something. There's not many cards that care about beasts on Arena. There's a lot in Magic, but not on Arena. So we have the Woodland Lead, which is a new card that cares whenever a beast comes into play, draw a card. Garruk's Uprising, your beasts are usually going to be big enough, so that's going to draw your cards as well. And then you're kind of rounding off the deck with beasts. That's obvious. So playing a Questing Beast for 2 mana, playing a Crasher for 3 mana, that's insane. We can also have like this small sub-theme of power 4 greater, so Dragon Hawk. It's going to deal a lot of damage to opponent. The Tyrant is also going to draw us a lot of cards and also gains us a lot of life. I put the banner, kind of run any Anthem or any tribal card that's like colorless, your Roaming Throne, for example, if you want. Just any tribal card. And then, Unsealing, we're already on the power big creature kind of idea. Go ahead and do that. But yeah, this is just a beast. Hello, okay, it's back. I hope it's back. But yeah, you just run ramp, you run a beast stack with ramp. Up next and lastly, we have Avina the Chaos Bloom, and this should honestly be on the unplayable and interesting because there's not enough Cascade. But since it's the only like 3-color commander from this, I wanted to put it here. So whenever you, as you cascade, we put a land from among the exile cards onto the battlefield tapped. There are not many cascade cards. Emoti is very good, has Cascade itself and give Cascade to other stuff, so that works really well. And Throne of Chaos, you can keep retracing it, but other than that, you're kind of running very thin on Cascade cards. We're gonna try to get value from the landfall we're gonna get, the free landfall, so Tatiova, Tireless Revision, any card like Cost of Growth Fix if you want. Any card that gains a little bit of value. And then I put here 4 cards that have fake cascading. So Rush Me, whenever you cast your first spell, you turn reveal top card of your library, and you can cast it if it's cheaper. So kind of like it's cascade but fixed. Etali, well, reveal is not really cascade. Explore or Discover is literally cascade but fixed. And then Sunburst Invocation, also kind of cascading but fixed. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be very good, but I wanted to highlight it anyway. But that's it for the foundation. That was a long video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it gives you guys an idea. Let me know which ones you're excited about and which ones you like to see. I'm building Gornog, Rev, and Venser soon. And Ailey already have built, and Alicia. So you should see them sometime this week if I have time. Otherwise on the weekend you'll see them. But yeah, that's it from my side. Hope you guys had a good time. And I'll see you next time.